Africa is the future. Rising Beyond the Invisible Seal, written by Professor Paul, Ph.D. Me Foundation, Monthly Lecture Series, 52, May 16, 2026, Part 2. Africa is not a continent seeking relevance. It is the cradle of human civilization and one of the greatest reservoirs of human and natural potential in the modern world. Long before many modern nations emerged, African societies had already established organized kingdoms, systems of governance, centers of learning, commercial networks, architectural wonders, and scientific advances. From the pyramids of ancient Egypt to the scholarly traditions of Timbuktu in Mali, from the great empires of Songhai and Benin to the enduring civilizations of Ethiopia and Nubia, Africa contributed immensely to the intellectual and cultural foundations of humanity. Yet, despite this rich historical legacy, Africa still struggles with poverty, corruption, underdevelopment, insecurity, institutional fragility, unemployment, and economic dependence. The contradiction is painful. How can a continent so blessed with land, minerals, youthful energy, strategic location, and cultural influence remain behind in global development indices? This question demands not emotional reactions, but honest introspection and courageous transformation. For decades, Africa's developmental failures have often been explained through colonialism, slavery, exploitation, unfair global systems, and foreign interference. While these historical realities cannot be denied, Africa must now move beyond permanent victimhood and embrace the responsibility of rebuilding itself. No continent can rise sustainably if it remains psychologically imprisoned by its past. History may explain the wounds of Africa, but it cannot permanently excuse stagnation. The future belongs to societies willing to reinvent themselves through discipline, innovation, accountability, and strategic leadership. One of the greatest tragedies that can happen to a group or an individual is a self-defeating mentality. A society that loses confidence in itself gradually loses its voice, identity, bargaining power, and creative strength. Many African nations still struggle beneath an invisible seal of inferiority, the dangerous belief that everything foreign is superior while local capacity is undervalued. This psychological barrier has weakened institutions, distorted leadership priorities, encouraged dependency, and diminished national self-esteem. If people do not trust themselves, how can they expect the world to trust them? Self-confidence is not arrogance. It is a developmental necessity. Nations that transformed themselves, whether in Asia, Europe, or the Middle East, first believed in their own possibilities before the world recognized their potential. Africa must therefore rediscover its confidence, identity, and purpose. The African continent stretches from the Mediterranean in the north to the southern coasts of the Atlantic and Indian Oceans, from the Red Sea in the east to the western shores of the Atlantic. Africa possesses one of the largest land masses in the world, enormous agricultural opportunities, abundant renewable energy potential, vast mineral deposits, oil and gas reserves, and the youngest population globally. In an era where human capital and innovation determine economic strength, Africa possesses one of the greatest strategic advantages of the 21st century: its people. At the center of this continental potential stands Nigeria, widely recognized as the giant of Africa. With a population exceeding 200 million, Nigeria is one of the largest concentrations of human capital on the continent. The country is blessed with enormous natural resources, entrepreneurial talent, technological innovation, cultural influence, intellectual capacity, and youthful energy. Nigerian professionals, academics, entrepreneurs, medical experts, engineers, creatives, and technology innovators continue to excel globally, demonstrating that the African mind remains competitive when given opportunity and structure. Nigeria's music, film, literature, fintech innovation, and diaspora influence have already positioned the country as a major cultural and economic force within Africa and beyond. From the global rise of Afrobeats to advancements in digital banking and entrepreneurship, Nigeria continues to demonstrate the resilience, creativity, and dynamism of African potential. However, Nigeria also reflects many of Africa's broader struggles: corruption, insecurity, weak institutions, infrastructural deficits, unemployment, policy inconsistency, and political distrust. The future of Africa may therefore depend significantly on whether Nigeria succeeds in transforming its enormous population into productive national strength. Human capital remains the greatest wealth of any nation. Oil may lose value, mineral reserves may be depleted, and global markets may fluctuate. But educated, skilled, innovative, and disciplined citizens remain the foundation of sustainable national development. Africa must therefore stop exporting its brightest minds through forced migration caused by hopelessness, insecurity, and economic hardship. Migration itself is not the problem. Rather, migration driven by desperation reflects institutional failure and loss of confidence in local opportunities. Every year, thousands of young Africans leave the continent in search of better healthcare systems, educational opportunities, employment, security, and economic stability abroad. This brain drain weakens local development and transfers valuable human capital to foreign economies. Africa must therefore build systems that restore hope, dignity, and opportunity within its own societies. Young people should not feel that success is only possible outside Africa. The world is changing rapidly, and Africa cannot afford to remain trapped in outdated systems of governance, economic dependency, ethnic division, and political patronage. Globalization, technology, artificial intelligence, digital communication, and increased civic awareness are already reshaping political consciousness across the continent. Citizens are becoming more informed, more connected, and increasingly unwilling to tolerate corruption, impunity, and leadership failure. Across Africa and beyond, individuals who once looted public wealth and abused state institutions are increasingly facing investigations, international sanctions, extraditions, and prosecutions. This demonstrates that the age of absolute impunity is gradually weakening. Change may emerge from grassroots civic pressure, institutional reforms, youth activism, or international accountability systems, but change remains inevitable because no society can permanently resist transformation in an interconnected world. Africa, therefore, stands at a defining moment in history. The continent can either continue recycling cycles of poverty, corruption, weak governance, dependency, and division, or it can rise into a new era of productivity, innovation, accountability, industrialization, and strategic development. The future of Africa will not depend solely on natural resources, but on leadership quality, institutional strength, educational advancement, and cultural confidence. Courtesy of ME Foundation, committed to human capacity, building worldwide. Just a voice of reasoning in a complex dispensation. Thank you for listening and for being part of the lecture session. Feel free to listen to the third part of this topic. Please share to inspire others.